Three philosophies for the modern day context. Let's get started. Philosophy 1 is from Albert Camus, the 20th century French philosopher, author, journalist, and political activist. Embrace the absurdity of life. Human existence is absurd. Let me repeat, human existence is absurd, and we should embrace it and find freedom in our faith. This philosophy intertwines through his work. In the myth of Sisyphus, he takes a look at this Greek legend from a different perspective. This is where Sisyphus, who is condemned by the gods for eternity, rolls a boulder up a hill just to watch it roll back down again. Despite this, Sisyphus finds happiness in his struggle and embraces it. So if life is absurd, what is the meaning of existence? Albert Camus denies that there is an answer to this question. Now I want to tell you about Leon. Now Leon is an accountant and he works at an office. His job seems mundane and repetitive, day in, day out, and there never seems to be an end. He has pondered over the absurdity of life, but instead of questioning the meaning of life, he could consider the following. Number 1, acknowledge the meaningless, acknowledge the absurdity, acknowledge the mundane, but focus on what made him want to be an accountant and simply enjoy it. Number 2, look around and realize that his colleagues have become close friends. And number 3, if none of the above is true, then every day after the end of his workday, he is free in some sense to do other things, and he should embrace this. As he says in the work The Rebel, quote, "The absurd is an experience that must be lived through." End of quote. Philosophy 2 is from Confucius, who is the Chinese philosopher and politician. Strive for knowledge and never stop. Confucius strongly believed in knowledge, perseverance, and morality. His philosophy encourages to strive for knowledge and never stop, as this benefits the individual as well as society as a whole. Confucius says, quote, "To know what you know and what you do not know is the real knowledge." End of quote. To put another way, he is inviting you to distinguish the known from the unknown. Now, let's talk about Jack and James. Jack and James are both car mechanics, and a client has brought in a car which has a problem that neither Jack nor James have ever encountered before. Right away, they don't know how to fix it. Now, Jack is trying to pretend to be competent and give the client a quote, while James decides to do some research and consult other mechanics for advice before taking the job. Even though James might seem like he is incompetent, he acknowledges that he cannot possibly know everything. As a result, he becomes more knowledgeable and is capable of explaining to the client the job that has to be done and estimate the price accordingly. He is also able to properly fix the car. Confucius also says, quote, "The man who asks a question is a fool for a minute. The man who does not ask is a fool for life." End of quote. This philosophy is very relevant today, where we constantly look for the information on the internet. Learning and discovering new things each day has become a norm. Philosophy 3 is from Voltaire, the 18th century philosopher, writer, and deist. The importance of tolerance. Voltaire was a philosopher of the Age of Enlightenment. He was a deist, according to him, not by faith, but rather by reason. That enabled him to step back from the strict canons of the time dictated by the church and look at the wider picture. By believing that social progress can be achieved through reason, he emphasized the importance of tolerance. Quote, "Think for yourself and let others enjoy the privilege to do so too." End of quote. Voltaire believed that no authority should challenge the reason. For example, Sarah and John had decided to try to home educate their children because they think that the children will benefit from it. However, John's mother Jill thinks that her grandchildren should attend school just as their father did, and also she did as well. Even though Jill has a certain say, and in some way she is an authority, being the children's grandmother, that doesn't mean she is right. Also, it should not stop Sarah and John to try and do what's best for their children. Perhaps they should give homeschooling a try and weigh all the cons and pros accordingly. Voltaire's philosophy today is as relevant and fitting as it was during his lifetime. Quote, "Toleration has never been the cause of civil war, while in the contrary, persecution has covered the earth with blood and carnage." End of quote. His call for tolerance seems eerily familiar and desperately needed in today's political and social context. So that is 3 philosophies for the modern day context. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed the content.